The PS Vita is an extremely niche console that has had a lot of third-party support. This means there are bound to be a handful of rare and expensive games for the system that many just don't know about. So today I want to quickly go over a handful of rare PS Vita titles and variants you might not know about. Let's take a look. So the first expensive and rare game is Breach and Clear. Now this is much more well known, and that's because it was the first game ever released by Limited Run on the PlayStation Vita, and many attribute this game to be what sparked the long list of LRG published games that followed. Now in terms of the game itself, it's just a basic SWAT style strategy game that isn't really anything crazy. Truth be told, Breach and Clear could easily pass as just a basic mobile game, but for collectors it's definitely much more. Currently there are only 1,500 copies ever released of this title, with very few being sold. The next rare but mostly expensive game is Mooseman. Basically, this is what people thought was the last release by PlayAsia for the PS Vita, which caused the price to go way up. In terms of the game itself, it's just a side-scrolling adventure game that does have great visuals and music. Many suspected this game to rise in price over time, but that most likely won't be happening. And the reason I say this is because PlayAsia actually made a new release on June 8th, 2023 for a game called Jet Set Knights, which actually caught a lot of people off guard, and now sits as the latest release on the PS Vita, with pre-orders of the game currently selling for $200 upwards on eBay. Moving along, the next two rare games are Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth and AW Phoenix Festa. These are both very expensive games that don't have much of a backstory behind them. Basically, the publishers didn't produce many copies due to the titles being JRPGs, and the demand for them far exceeded expectations. Many state that there were only around 1,000 copies released for each game, making them tough and expensive to find. The next rare game is Invis Animals, but more specifically the ESRB rating pending variant. Invis Animals was a series that originally featured on the PSP, and one that I actually played a little back in the day. It required you to use a PSP camera extension where you would then be able to play games and interact with the virtual animals. But the series just never really caught on in North America and was mostly popular in Spain and Portugal. So when the PS Vita released, Sony saw an opportunity to try and revive the franchise in North America, but misprinted copies of the game began floating around, with the error being that the rating wasn't set to E for everyone, but rather RP, or known as rating pending. Now many have speculated these non-rated copies to be fraudulent and not official, but it is also likely that these did exist, making it a very rare variant to find in the wild. Alright, so the final games on my list are Binding of Isaac, 1001 Spikes, and VVVVV. Now you're probably wondering why I put these three games together, but it's because they all share something in common, which is these games were never intended to exist physically. What I mean by this is that the publisher, known as Nicholas, never actually announced or released these games officially, but yet a few copies made their way into the hands of the general public and have sold for massive amounts of money. Now there is a lot of controversy regarding the publishing company known as Nicholas, as they have been known to be rather shady, and many people suspected the company of releasing these games with the intent of making some side cash out of them. Regardless, these games are still extremely rare and near impossible to find in the wild nowadays. And that concludes my list of rare and expensive games on the PlayStation Vita. I didn't include any PS Vita bundles or limited edition stuff since I wanted to keep things simple. Please let me know if I missed any rare games worth noting, and please subscribe as it really does help the channel. And with that said, I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.